now call the July 16, 2013 regular meeting of the Riverton City Council to order at 7:02 p.m. Would Councilmember Baker lead us in a pledge, please?
Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The city clerk, please conduct a roll call.
Yes, Your Honor. Councilmember Mary Ellen Christensen.
Present.
Councilmember John Lars Baker.
Here.
Councilman Eric Heiser.
Here.
Councilman Rich Gard.
Here.
Councilman Jonathan Fabian.
Here.
Councilman Todd Smith.
Here.
Mayor Ron Warpness.
I'm present. Thank you. The chair would, I declare that we have a quorum this evening. Approval of the agenda. The chair would entertain a motion for the approval of the agenda.
Your Honor, I'd move to approve the agenda with the change of adding a new number 16 under 1% committee recommendations, and that would be for YDOT bid concurrence for Riverview Road.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to amend the agenda. Is there discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries. Okay. The chair would now entertain a motion for the approval of the amended agenda.
I would move to approve the amended agenda.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries. At this time, we'll have communication from the floor, citizens' comments. Anyone in the audience wishing to address the council regarding an item that is already on the agenda will be given an opportunity to speak later on. I would ask those individuals who wish to address the council at this time to approach the podium and identify yourself for the record. Ms. Davis.
Hi, I'm Georgia Davis, co-chairman of the Riverton Rendezvous, and I just wanted to come in and welcome the council to this weekend's events. We begin Friday morning with Media Day, and we invite the council to come join us for balloon flights. 6 a.m. is when we start, as well as the general public. Friday is the day to try to get a balloon ride if you're not sponsoring a balloon for the weekend, because the balloons are not sponsored that day, so the general public just comes up and helps us chase balloons. It's a lot of fun. Then the other thing I wanted to make a special invite to the council for is Saturday for our tailgate party at 10 a.m. We will be having sandwich contests, and typically city council come and judge our sandwiches, and you wouldn't believe how creative these sandwiches get. They're pretty amazing sometimes. One that sticks out in my mind is someone did Buffalo Bill Cody. It was pretty amazing. You could tell who it was by the looks of the sandwich. So anyway, so we invite you, if you can, to come and help us judge sandwiches Saturday. And of course, we have also Friday, we have the Friday night cruise. We have a candlestick on Main Street. Celebrity speaker is at 7 p.m. at the Eagles. And then Sunday, along with our balloon launch, we will have, starting at 7 p.m., tethered balloon rides, and those are free to the public. And it's a great way for kids to be introduced to ballooning for the first time as well. We have the car and bike show. Saturday, the Redneck Barbecue. Those are up at the college. Heritage Center is giving tours. And then Saturday night, we have the Balloon Glow. That starts at 8 p.m. That's on the CWC launch field, the soccer field. And then fireworks starting at 10 p.m. And we weren't able to do fireworks last year, but if you saw the fireworks 2 years ago, they were pretty amazing. It was an excellent show. And then Sunday, again, we have the balloon launch as well as the tethered balloon rides. You can have breakfast on the field. The Kiwanis family is going to be serving breakfast on the west end of the field. So anyway, just wanted to invite all of you again, as well as the general public, to come out this weekend.
Thank you very much, Georgia.
Thank you.
It's a wonderful time, and anyone that doesn't participate in it is really missing out on a lot of fun. I'd be real interested in how did that sandwich thing get started? I've never seen that anywhere else where they are very creative. I'll tell you what. That was.
Susan Skidmore could explain that better than I can.
I just did it.
It was Susan's
Really?
idea.
Well, that's a lot of fun, and there's a lot of good eating, and I agree. Some of it is really creative. I've gotten to judge that a couple years, and it's a lot of fun. So
It is.
thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Okay, is there anyone else that would like to address the council this evening? The chair would entertain a motion regarding the consent agenda, items by title only.
Yes, Your Honor, this is going to be a rather lengthy consent agenda due to the second reading of ordinances that we put on the consent agenda, but the title still has to be read in public.
Correct.
Approval of the minutes July 2nd, 2013 regular council meeting. Approval of the minutes July 9th, 2013 council work session. Approval of minutes July 15th, 2013 Finance Committee meeting. Approval of Finance Committee recommendations for July 15th, 2013. Approval of the municipal court report for the month of June 2013. Second reading of ordinance number 13-006, driver's license requirements. An ordinance revising section 10.12.030 of the Riverton Municipal Code, creating the offense of driving under suspension, and repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict therewith and providing for an effective date. Proposed ordinance number 13-007, second reading, auto insurance requirements. An ordinance amending chapter 10.12 with the addition of section 10.12.170 of the Riverton Municipal Code, requiring drivers of motor vehicles to have liability insurance, and repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict therewith and providing for an effective date. Ordinance number 13-008, second reading, updating language in the Riverton Municipal Code to coincide with Wyoming state statutes. An ordinance revising section 10.08.010 of the Riverton Municipal Code, updating the language to reflect the current Wyoming state statutes, and repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict therewith and providing for an effective date. A catering permit application was submitted to the city clerk's office for the Lapeer on August 10th, 2013 for a wedding reception at St. Margaret's Gym from 4 to midnight. An open container permit application was received by Bighorn Co-op for a company picnic at Sunset Park on August 5th from 5 p.m. to 9 p.m.
Thank you.
Your Honor,
Yes.
it is the recommendation of the Finance Committee for the approval of claims to be paid in the amount of $313,250.23. Elan credit card in the amount of $6,697.27. Checks written for payroll liabilities for June 28, 2013 and July 12, 2013 in the amount of $283,429.18 for a total of $603,376.68.
Thank you. Are there any of these agenda items that anyone would like to pull off and discuss further? Or? Okay.
Your Honor, I would move to approve consent as presented.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda. Is there a discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries. Okay, agenda item number 8, Fremont County Prevention Coalition presentation, responsible beverage server training. Presentation by Tana. There she is.
Thank you for agreeing to have us on the agenda this evening. For those of you who don't know me, I am Tana. I work with Fremont County Prevention Management Organization to influence safety and wellness of our Fremont County communities. We do that by focusing on substance abuse and misuse, as well as suicide prevention. I sent a letter to you earlier in the week, and in your packet you have the letter. After having listened to Mr. Johnson present to you last Tuesday on what was happening in Fremont County and Riverton in regards to alcohol. I guess I'll say problems. It seemed to me that there was a great conversation going on, many questions, and it seemed to me that it was very timely, because as the coalition is working to reduce alcohol misuse and abuse, we have formed a committee, or a committee has been formed, like I mentioned in the letter, of members from our coalition and the Solutions Committee, which Chief Broadhead has been involved with, as well as bar owners, managers, and servers. Now, I'm thinking that people perhaps came here this evening believing that we were going to try to sell you responsible beverage server training and mandatory ordinance. Actually, I'm here to invite you, the council, to participate in our committee, which is talking about responsible beverage server training. Mr. Johnson also, well, let's go through the packet if you don't mind. Of course, it's a copy of the letter that I sent you earlier, but then on the left-hand side, you will see a page that says, how much does substance abuse cost Wyoming? And you will see some alarming figures. With alcohol, we have healthcare costs, productivity loss, prime costs, and other costs. For alcohol, also for tobacco and drugs. After Mr. Johnson's presentation, I wanted you also to think about these kinds of costs. These are figures from Wyoming. And if you consider what Mr. Johnson had to present last week, you can almost imagine what the cost is to Fremont County and to Riverton in regards to healthcare costs, productivity loss, crime costs. But what we've done as a committee is do some research on MAP, which Mr. Johnson had mentioned to you. And in your packet, you will see it's Management of Alcohol Policies Program that he suggested perhaps be considered. There's MAP, but then also on the left-hand side, behind MAP, are point systems that have been adopted in Laramie and Gillette. Then also, because I didn't want you to do any more work than you needed to do, I've included Riverton's municipal codes in regards to alcohol, as well as Wyoming Department of Revenue. So that's on the left-hand side. On the right-hand side of your packet, am I going too fast?
As long as we're not reading it at this speed.
Well,
right?
and I don't expect you to read it now. I just want you to know what we've provided you with. On the right-hand side, you'll see stapled together Cheyenne's mandatory server training ordinance. In fact, the first one is all that we've gathered in regards to Wyoming municipalities that have adopted a mandatory server training ordinance. Behind that, then, you'll see that we did some research on other municipalities throughout the United States. What we would very much like to happen is for someone from the council be a part of our committee to sit down with us, the Prevention Coalition, as well as bar owners, managers, operators, and talk about the issues that were about the things that are happening here in Riverton and Fremont County. So I'm here to invite someone to come participate in our committee with us and visit with the coalition and bar owners and managers. There is an issue. It takes the whole community to deal with things. The Solutions Committee is dealing with, well, actually, we're focusing on homelessness and, of course, alcohol and other substance abuse, prevention, intervention, and treatment. We just all need to get together and work at doing what we do best. And you as council, we need you to be a part of us. Does anyone have anything they'd like to say? Well, and that is a very good question. And because I know that people on council have...
What was the question? I'm sorry.
The question is, when are the meetings?
Okay.
Because we know that you have other jobs as well, and because you all have times, we need to try to coordinate times. So we'd like to hear when would be best, during the day, during the evening, a particular day of the month or the week, or we're here to begin the process.
Okay.
So, and Kelly, you wanted to mention something? Did I do okay? Okay. Thank you.
I have a question for you.
Yes.
Can you come up to the microphone, please? Sir, can you come up to the microphone?
Yes, I will.
Thank you. State your name for the record.
Steve Hurtado, owner of Cedar Bar.
Okay, thank you.
My question for you is if you'd like participation from bar owners. We'd like to have the material, that way we'd know when, where.
Yes,
Okay.
I'd be happy
you.
to provide that.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. Thank you very much, Tana.
Thank you.
I think we're all attend a lot of meetings and whatnot, so I think that's something that we can put in the hopper and come up with what would be the best dates for us on our side of the equation. And I think the chief is very involved as well, probably at this time. And so, is that something that you can do for us, Stephen? No, come up with the dates and the time that would work the best for we can take a look at all of our committee assignments and whatnot, and then we can make an appointment to the board. So I would rather do it that way than try to come up with something here this evening, if that's all right. But
Your Honor,
yes.
as far as I know, at the beginning of the year, I was appointed to the Solutions Committee. I would love to be invited again. That would be great.
That's all.
Maybe you got one
Yeah.
right
That
now.
solves that
That's
problem right
yeah,
there.
no, I've only been to one meeting that I've known of, but I'd be happy to
Okay.
join, or any meeting. Just give me plenty of time to get there.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you, Mary Ellen.
You bet.
Your Honor,
Yes.
I'm interested as well. I'm, associated with
VOA.
VOA, alcohol crisis side of things, so I would be interested in participating. Your Honor.
And I have a feeling that you're not worried if you get too much participation, are you? No. Okay, yes. Yes, Councilman Guard.
That was my question, if it would be possible for those of us that were
Sure.
interested to sit in on that.
Sure.
So,
Okay, great. Any other discussion?
I do have a question, Your
Councilman
Honor.
Christensen.
So the meetings, will you let everyone know, all the bar owners, and do you normally do it a week ahead of time, 10 days, or is it short notice?
Well, when Ernie came and presented and there was so much talk, it ended up being short notice.
Oh, okay.
But generally, we like to give people plenty of
Yeah.
notice so they have opportunity to look at all the materials.
Sure. That'd be
Generally, we
great.
don't have all this all at
Okay.
once.
All right, that'd be great. Just I myself work kind of crazy hours, so it's. Thank you.
Yes, when Ernie Johnson was here, he came to our WHAM convention and gave a presentation, which was just excellent. And I'd heard him one other time out at the Holiday when he gave a presentation. So he's got some remarkable statistics, and so really does. Thank you very much, Donna. Okay. agenda item number 9, property liquidation. City Administrator's report, please.
Yes, Your Honor. Home Source Realty has listed some parcels up at our Airport Industrial Park on behalf of the City of Riverton. They received an offer for Lot 4, which is final plat RIW Industrial Park in the amount of $42,663. The offer acknowledges the sale is subject to an appraisal verifying the value of the land. The offer includes the buyer and the city sharing equally in the appraisal and closing costs. And for your reference, Lot 4 is immediately next to or south of the new FedEx ground facility on Airport Road. The city received the offer on July 3rd, and it expires on July 24th at 10 a.m. The city will net approximately $39,000 after appraisals, real estate commission, and closing costs. So we're recommending that we accept the offer from Upright Construction and Restoration Services for Lot 4 in the amount of $42,663.
Okay.
Your Honor.
Chair would entertain a motion regarding lot number 4. Councilman Guard.
Your Honor, I'd make the motion that we liquidate lot number 4 with the said agreement.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there discussion?
Your Honor,
Yes.
I'm assuming that this
Fabian.
price is in line with other sales that have happened up there.
Yes, Your Honor, it is. And this will, obviously there'll be appraisal done, and at that point we'll be able to make sure that it's in line with the appraisal.
So there has not been an appraisal done at this time?
No,
This is just an offer?
that's right.
Okay.
It's, Your Honor, it's contingent on that
It
appraisal.
is, right.
It's my understanding that the lot was purchased a few years ago from U.S. Energy when they were having their sale. Is that correct, Mr. Riverton?
Yes, sir. Mr. Mayor, I can't remember the exact price we paid. I remember that we got it for a pretty low price. We sent an employee incognito to bid on it, as you well recall. It strikes in my head that we got all 4 lots that we purchased at that time for about $20,000 to $25,000.
For all 4 of them?
Yeah.
Okay, we have a motion and a second on the floor. Further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries. Mayor votes aye. Okay, agenda item number 10, property liquidation, lot number 7, Wind River Air Park offer. City Administrator's report, please.
Yes, Your Honor. This is similar to the first one. We had an offer from Kyle Towns for Lot 7, Wind River Air Park, in the amount of $36,000. It has similar contingencies as the last one. It's contingent upon the appraisal being done. Home Source listed this for us, and we received the offer, and the city received the offer. Will likely be appraised value, splitting the appraisal costs and closing costs, just like the last one. And this is the amount of $33,141. Well, that's the net, what we would receive after we paid all of the fees. So we're recommending approval of this one too.
Okay, the chair would entertain a motion regarding lot number 7, Wind River Air Park offer.
Your
I
Honor.
would move to approve Lot 7 of the Wind River Air Park for $36,000 contingent upon appraisal, reflecting the property value.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Is there discussion? Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries. Mayor votes aye. Agenda item number 11, ordinance number 13-004, third and final reading, Title 17, revision pursuant to fences and setback requirements. Would the city clerk please read ordinance number 13-004 by title only?
Yes, Your Honor, I'd be happy to. This is a third and final reading of proposed ordinance number 13-004, an ordinance amending Title 17 zoning to revise Chapter 17.16 general requirements of the Riverton Municipal Code and repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict therewith and providing for an effective date.
Okay, The chair would entertain a motion regarding ordinance number 13-004.
I move we approve ordinance 13004 on third and final reading.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Is there a discussion? Would the city clerk please conduct the roll call?
Yes, Your Honor, I'd be happy to. Councilman John Lars Baker.
Yes.
Councilwoman Mary Ellen Christensen.
Yes.
Councilman Eric Heiser.
Yes.
Councilman Rich Guard.
Yes.
Councilman Jonathan Fabian.
Yes.
Councilman Todd Smith.
Yes.
Mayor Ron Warpness.
Mayor votes yes. Okay. Agenda item number 12, ordinance number 13005, third and final reading, zoning for Wind River Job Corps Center site and radio microwave tower sites on Airport Road. Would the city clerk please read ordinance number 13005 by title only?
Yes, Your Honor. Proposed ordinance number 13-005, third and final reading. An ordinance amending the zoning district map of the city of Riverton, Wyoming, designating the zoning of the Wind River Job Corps site and tower sites located on Airport Road, City of Riverton, Fremont County, Wyoming, as light industrial district I-1.
Okay, thank you. The chair would entertain a motion regarding ordinance 13005.
Your Honor, I would move that we approve ordinance number 13-005 on third and final reading.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Is there a discussion? Would the city clerk please conduct the roll call?
Yes, Your Honor. Councilman Todd Smith.
Yes.
Councilman Jonathan Fabian.
Yes.
Councilman Rich Guard.
Yes.
Councilman Eric Heiser.
Yes.
Councilwoman Mary Ellen Christensen.
Yes.
Councilman John Lars Baker.
Yes.
Mayor Ron Warpness.
Mayor votes yes. Okay, motion carries. Agenda item number 13, source gas finance agreement discussion. City Administrator's report.
Yes, Your Honor. We have franchise agreements that come up in expiration dates, and this one's coming up as of August 4th. However, we remain under that same contract until a new one is negotiated. Franchise agreements are regulated by state statutes, but some items can be negotiated as an entity. And so some of the things that we're looking at in that direction are the length of the lease, windows for the lease, which is such as every 5 years we could open it up, franchise fee per customer, how often payments are received by the company, monthly or quarterly or annually, and responsibility of line replacements. Some of the thoughts that we've had regarding this, and we're trying to find out from the council if we're going in the right direction with this as we start negotiations with them. The first one is the length of the lease. Source Gas is asking for 25. We think that's a little long. And they're asking for no windows too. And so we think, generally speaking, a 15-year term on a franchise agreement is pretty standard. And then under the windows, we'd have one every 5 years. So at the beginning of the 5th year, we could open that up and have discussions about it. If there is nothing to talk about, then it would automatically renew for another 5 years. We would remain with the current per therm fee that we have, so it'd be no change to that. And then the payments, we feel like this is money that's being basically collected for the city of Riverton, and right now they pay us annually, and we think that should be a little bit more frequently since that's the money belonging to the city. And so we're recommending getting 2 payments a year instead of 1. I think we'd probably even prefer more often than that, but we'll see how that goes. And then the responsibility of line replacements during street projects in the event of a utility line is deteriorated or needs repair, they would assume the responsibility of replacing the line. So this is just the preliminary part. Once we go forward and negotiate with them, then we would have to come back to the council with an ordinance that would have to be passed by 3 readings, just like every other ordinance. But we wanted to see if we're all going in the right direction or we're not. And so just if there's any questions or if there's something you don't agree with how we're going and how we should go in the future.
Okay. Thank you.
My only question is, if we're able to revisit this every 5 years, does the length of it matter that much? I mean, can't we in the midst decide to go away from it? I guess I don't know if it's that much of a sticking point for me.
Your Honor, it's a sticking point for me.
Fair enough.
I'm sorry. Technically, our auditors don't like to see a lease agreement longer than 10 years. They kind of have a problem with the lease agreements we have with the airport hangar leases. So in line with that, what they're proposing is 25 years and no windows. That means we can't adjust the rate. We can't change anything about the line replacements or anything. So to have a crystal ball to say what's going to happen in 25 years, I don't know. Another thing is we have 2 other franchise agreements coming up. Optimum, which was purchased by Charter Communications. Quest, we have not had an agreement with a telephone company for 42 years. 1971 was the last time that was passed. When I spoke with them, they said the only thing we ask is that this agreement mirrors all the other franchise agreements you have. So unless we're willing to go annually on every franchise, unless we're willing to make it 25 years on every franchise, you know, I think that that's the fair way to play with these utility companies that are using our right-of-way for their utilities. This is the only one that we have annually. Everyone else we collect quarterly or monthly. This is the one that's annual.
Further discussion?
Your Honor,
Garden.
I think it's really wise to look at the length of the lease and do exactly as you've asked. I don't know if are they open to that? Windows in a 15-year term?
Your Honor, I'm not sure if I'm hoping we'll be able to push that. I mean, obviously they're going to come with what they want, and they don't want those, but I think in the end, in order to reach an agreement, they're going to have to give and take on some of these.
Are they the only supplier?
Yes.
Yeah.
But we're the only customer.
Right.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think those are both really good points, and I think that would be wise to have the windows and the term at 15. I suppose if we have the windows and back to 25, it still works. If we still have windows every 5 years and the term is 25, I don't see a lot of difference.
Your Honor, the only thing with windows that's very specific about what you can discuss during that window period. It's not opening the whole agreement up again. Mainly that's to determine the rate.
Okay.
So that's the only thing that will
And the
get
rate
us.
is just a direct pass-through to the citizens, so it's just a tax on the citizens is all it is.
Your Honor.
Yes, Councilman Baker.
How much money is involved here with the source gas?
I believe that's about $200,000 to $300,000 per year.
Your Honor.
Yes. Councilman Heiser.
I guess I would just encourage the city clerk and staff. I would agree with the auditors in that I know on here you're talking about semi-annual, but I think we need to be, and we've tried, I know, when we've done new leases to treat everyone the same way in terms of the terms of the lease. So if quarterly is the latest that we allow payments, then that needs to be the way that this agreement, the new one's structured, or monthly or whatever the case might be. I think the longer that you start spreading that out, then the other lessees are going to say, well, why are you treating them different than us when it's the same type of lease? So I would say, and really, I really don't think it's a huge imposition to ask the company to be paying quarterly unless they want to pay interest on that money. But they're probably not interested in that, so.
Is there a fee for their services for collecting this money?
No, sir.
Okay. It's just allowing them to do business in our community is what it amounts to.
Yes.
Okay.
Now, if I could offer one more thing. When I spoke with Norm Long, Mr. Weaver was on vacation at the time. When he stopped in and visited me, and I worked with Norm for a long time with different cities, but you know, their whole thing is they don't want to have to come back and revisit this because of all the paperwork. And if that's the only reason they can give us that it should be a shorter term or it should be annual payments, or I know they have a lot of municipalities to do across many states. But I think we can start a discussion on our end and then see where it ends up with the negotiation, but I feel pretty comfortable with this one.
Well, where it's our money, our citizens' money that they're collecting, I think it's our responsibility to do everything we can to get as much of it back and to use it as appropriate as possible. So I'd be strongly in favor of that quarterly payment at the very minimum, and you know, be as aggressive as we can of doing what's in our interest. You can bet darn well that they will do what's in their interest. There's no problem there. And so we just need to, but I think the direction of the council probably is to do what's in the city's best interest, and you've given us pretty straight direction on that, I think, Courtney. So
one of the things we haven't touched, Mayor, is that responsibility of line replacement. Can you tell us anything about that, Mr. Urquhart?
Councilman Gard, specifically when I work on the specific language is required, and evaluate the quality of their lines when we're building new streets or paving over streets or overlays and doing all this work we're going to do, because there's nothing that drives me crazy worse, and I'm sure all of you agree with this, than finishing a street and then having them cut it open. And so we want to put wording in there that says that they have to evaluate the condition of their appurtenances under our streets when we're rebuilding streets and make sure that they're adequate, so that they're not cutting new streets. Because even if they cut it and patch it back, it's still never as good as the brand new street. Right. So I want to try to put some language into that effect. Our current franchise says that if we change the grade or the alignment of the street, we have to pay to replace the line. Well, we're not changing the grade or the alignments of the streets, but I'm talking about if we're going to overlay, if we're going to build a new street, that they got to make pipe underneath it.
well, I think that I don't disagree with anything that you're saying there, Bill. I agree 100% to cut up a new street, but where we're dealing with natural gas, which, you know, is a real safety issue, so I think we've got to treat it, you know, maybe a little more aggressively than we would a sewer line that's going bad. Is there anything else you need on that, Stephen? Do you need them?
Your Honor, are you fine with just keeping it at the same rate? I just want to make sure that's fine with just moving forward with the same rate that we've been charging.
Your Honor, I think, like you pointed out, that's just a direct pass through to the customer. We're already taxing our folks as hard as we can. I would suggest we leave it alone.
Everyone else agree with that? Okay, the chair would entertain a motion regarding source gas franchise agreement discussion.
Your Honor, I'd make the motion to allow the city administrator to engage in discussions with source gas for a new lease agreement.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved in second. Further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Agenda item number 14, DN Tanks change order. Public Service Director report, please.
I remember in the council's in your packet, you'll see the council report and some details about this. This is one of those hindsight being 2020 things. But what came to our attention is that when we had one design team design the distribution system inside the Job Corps campus for the water lines, and they stubbed out a line to tie into our future appurtenances. And then we had another design team come in and design the tank and the yard piping associated with the tank, and that the line that they proposed to go up and tie into that existing line was an 8-inch line. And after the fact, it occurred to me to ask the question at least, is that going to provide adequate fire flows? Because of course, as we were putting all this together, the Job Corps plans are coming together, and we're trying to get all of that put together. And it was an interesting discussion as Sandy and I were working with the designing of the Job Corps of what they needed for fire flows. And it was kind of a hard answer to get out of them what they came up with. But finally, they came up with an answer of that they needed 2,750 gallons per minute in a fire situation or fire flow on that campus. That's a lot of water in a hurry. And the reality is that the 8-inch line running down Airport Road from the tank up by the Weather Service cannot provide that kind of water under pressure, that kind of quantity that we need. And the 8-inch line coming up from the bottom couldn't do the same thing, just not a big enough line. And so we asked our design team that was working on the yard piping project to model the entire system, because they've done that. And it's amazing what they can do with computer modeling. And they came back to us and said basically that we needed to have an 18-inch line from the yard piping down at the tank up there to tie into the distribution system within the Job Corps campus so that we could provide those fire flows. This is something that maybe I'm sensitive to, let's put it that way. After here a few years ago when I read about the dormitory at Northwest Community College burning to the ground because they didn't have adequate fire flows. And you know, you've got young adults and kids up there, 300 of them in those dormitories, and if there was a fire event, you want to make sure that on our end of the deal, providing enough water will put it out. And Sandy worked so hard convincing the design team to put in fire suppression systems to adequately deal with this. If they did that and then we didn't have enough water to put a fire out, I feel like we just horribly shirked our duty. So part of the reason why we wanted to do this as a change order is number one, obviously we've got DN Tanks and their subcontractor already on site. You know, so we want to try to have it get done now while they're there already working on it. The second thing about it is if we then run a line down from the Job Corps campus and start messing with the yard piping and the DN Tank project, we kind of let them take a walk on any kind of warranty work or responsibility for what they've done if another contractor comes and works on it. So we kind of like to have the same contractor do it all just for those reasons. And so we asked for this price for this change order, and it wasn't cheap, $164,333, but we really feel like it needs to be done. We think that the price was reasonable. Part of the reason why it's so expensive, but it is an 18-inch line to be able to move that much water in a hurry from downhill up there into the Job Corps and for the rest of the airport in a fire event. But it also is an incredibly steep slope to be putting a water line in, and the soil conditions are horrible because it's bedrock. Our experience in the past when we had to put lines through that bedrock is that it is very, very difficult to dig. In fact, when they put the sewer line off the airport for the airport sewer interceptor, I remember the stories that they nearly had to blast that trench so that they could dig it. So it's not easy digging conditions at all. And so we feel like the price that we've been quoted is reasonable. And I bring it to you to just ask for your authorization to move forward with executing this change order to get that additional size pipe from the tank project up to the Job Corps site.
Okay. Is there discussion on this? The council?
Your Honor, Mr. Urquhart, did they look at looping the lines to get additional pressure, or so they didn't have to go to just a maximum line of 18 inches?
Councilman Guard, Mr. Mayor, actually, when we originally looked at this, I thought because we did have a loop coming off of Airport Road and then back around, that we could get by with a 12-inch, but in going back to the modeling and trusting these experts that know about it, they really felt like that they had to increase it from 12-inch to 18-inch to get the 2,750 gallons per minute, and then also provide for the others' demands in what they call pressure zone 5, everything else up at the airport. That we certainly hope it would never happen that you have a major fire at the Job Corps campus and then any of the other buildings at the airport catch on fire. You know, and I know one of the things that I guess I was never so proud of our water operators is when the beanery caught on fire, that our water operators were on task, they were on duty, they could see that fire, and they were able to set at the water treatment plant and kick wells on and operate wells to keep the water supply going while the fire department fought that huge fire. So we've tried to do everything we can like that with terms of having a loop, but really to move water from the water treatment plant to the new tank and then from the new tank up to the airport in a big fire demand situation, with the loop that we already have and the tie-in that we already have, we still have to have this 18-inch pipe.
Would it, is that 18-inch pipe gonna run clear through the subdivision then?
No, the 18-inch pipe will go from the tank project up the hill and then tie in to the loop that is in the Job Corps campus.
So we're just a mainline supply.
Because then you've got that 8-inch loop that goes back around, and then you've got the loop, so it can provide it around in that loop.
By the pressure.
Whichever way you're drawing on it, you'll have that provided.
Are we gonna extend that through so it's able to go past and to the airport?
Once
in
it,
a larger
once it
pipe?
hits the loop in the Job Corps campus, then that loop will allow it to distribute itself on up the rest of the way up to the airport.
But won't we have a restriction of 8 inches at that point if we tie on?
Well, you've got two 8-inches tied into the existing 8-inch, they'll move as much water as that 8-inch will hold. Unless I run an 18 all the way to the airport, and we don't have that much money, please don't ask me to do that. But, you know, at that point too, you still do have that tank up on the hill that would kick in, you know, and start providing supply too. And that's the thing that's so amazing about this water modeling software that they can do. They can simulate those different types of events and go, okay, we're good there. So we think the 18-inch tying into the loop on the Job Corps campus will provide all of our fire flow needs up there in that pressure zone 5 for the whole airport area. Because we've got a few assets up there we don't want to burn down to the ground either.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Let's go ahead and have a motion on the DN tanks change order at this time.
Your Honor, I'd move to approve the DN tanks change order for the amount of $164,333.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there further discussion?
Well, Your Honor,
Councilman Baker.
so, Mr. Oberkite, does that mean that we have a larger pump as well to supply that 18-inch line?
Mr. Mayor and Councilman Guard, we actually had anticipated the pump size all along. It was just the interconnection that we didn't.
So we just need a bigger pipe to carry
Bigger pipe, the pump will take care of
to
it.
carry the flow. All right, thank you.
Actually, those pump stations are, well, they're expensive, but they can pump a lot of water. They can move a lot of water in a hurry.
Okay.
Okay, is there any other comments? I guess when I first saw that, I just think, how in the world can we miss it? 8-inch and then 18-inch. That's a huge difference. So that part of it is disappointing, but I don't disagree, Bill, that you know we have to do what we have to do in order to protect our investment up there with the Job Corps. We just can't walk away from it. It'll also give us a lot more flexibility up on top of the hill with an 18-inch line that's already in place. And so that will give us a lot more potential for growth up in that area. So,
Well, the capacity.
Yep.
Capacity, if it doesn't go past, and I'm not saying take it to the airport, but we should have the capacity to hook onto it in case we need further development further out.
Mr. Mayor and Councilman Guard, the only way I can try to explain that is wave my hands around. If you get into that loop and then you're pushing the water around into the 8-inch going back up the hill, you've got it coming in two ways because you've got that loop. So you can keep pushing it up the hill and you can get it to work.
So you're really pushing through 16 inches of pipe, is that?
There you go.
Because you got two sides of an
Right,
8-inch
two
pipe
sides of an
drawing from one spot.
That's not exactly how it works. The capacity isn't that, but
It's as good an explanation as I had.
so yeah. And you know the problem with those modelings is that if they open every spigot between here and the airport and draw down all the water, which is highly unlikely, but you know I suppose we need to be ready for that day.
Mr. Mayor and Councilman Guard, yeah, it is highly unlikely, but I would remind you that over in Lander, when they had that unfortunate incident of their community center catching on fire, they drained all their water tanks in town trying to put it out.
Yep.
That's where this new tank and all this improvements to our facilities is going to be so good, because we'll have an extra 2 million gallons in storage that we can move uphill with the pumps or downhill just by with the valving and the piping system that we've got. We'll have a lot more capacity in that regard, and we'll be in way better shape.
And I would suppose we would have been able to move the storage tank higher, but it would have cost us a lot more than 164 just to get the gravity flow. So,
Mayor, Councilman Guard, we looked at that too, but we were concerned that if we made that tank much higher, then the resulting fountain out of the top of the CWC elevated water tank would have been a wonderful conversation piece. Probably not a really good use of our resources.
Could have put a pond around the bottom.
It would have been cool.
Okay, moving right along, we have a motion and a second on this issue. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Mayor votes aye.
Your Honor, I have one semi-related question. Do you have any information on any local contractors being involved in the Job Corps? I know the bid was awarded. Are there any of the subcontracts local that you know of?
Mr. Mayor, Councilman Fabian, actually, yes, I do. Sandy and I, Ms. Lures, I think they really come to see her. They're not really coming to see me, but the contractor, the project manager, just kind of dropped in on us unannounced last week and had informed they were negotiating contracts with local subcontractors that day, and that there will be local subcontractors hired to do a substantial amount of the work. Plus, they're also looking at getting local help. They're talking about 400 to 500 people working on the project at any given time, and the more help they can get locally, the less they have to worry about housing them all. I specifically asked them about, were they going to try to house them on site? Are they going to try to come at us with a man camp proposal? And they were adamant about no, they didn't want to do that because they didn't want to have the headaches of a man camp either and all the associated problems with that. So they're looking at trying to hire local people, hire local contractors to help. And we have the contact information from the project manager that's working with Rafter Age, and his company actually is Big D Construction. And I don't think he gave us any restrictions on sharing that information. So we've been freely sharing it to anybody that asked. But I think that they want to come and be part of the community. He and his associate had spent a couple days here, and they were very pleased with what they'd learned of Riverton. They felt like they had found their way around the community, that they'd been welcomed with open arms, that they could tell that everybody in the community was excited and embracing their presence here, and that they were looking forward to being a positive impact on our community for the next 1.5 to 2 years.
I guess they have experienced Rexburg winners.
Mr. Mayor, Councilman Guard, we certainly got the impression from him, and Sandy can speak for herself, that living in Rexburg, Idaho, made them appreciate getting concrete in the ground as quickly as possible. Because they know what winter is, and the project manager and his company are actually out of Salt Lake City, so I think they're pretty familiar with what the weather can be like around here too. And we keep getting more information. That the latest word I've gotten is that a pre-construction meeting will be held soon. And as soon as I have official word on that date, I'll let you all know, because it's called a pre-construction and partnering meeting, where the contractor, DOL, their representatives that are going to be here want to come talk about the project, talk with us about the project, and talk about their local partners, which obviously we are, and so are all of the other partners that we have in this Job Corps project, which are too numerous to mention. But you know, we're very excited, and we keep moving closer and closer and closer to seeing this to reality. In fact, I think it is reality now, because that pre-construction and partnering meeting is a sign that DOL is either about to or have issued the notice to proceed, which means then all the contract documents are in order. They have issued notice of award, and you know, once everybody's signed on the dotted line, they'll be ready to go. And this contractor certainly struck me with the impression that they wanted to get going as quick as possible.
Okay, thank you, Bill. Agenda item number 15, 1% committee force recommendations, Public Services Director report.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, first I just want to thank you for that committee that you appointed to this Fix Our Roads Citizens Committee, the Forest Committee. They are strong, independent, free thinkers that don't have a hesitation in telling me what they think and how we're going to do this and how we're going to go about it. And what a great committee to work with. And they're also very aggressive, meeting every 2 weeks at a minimum, and expecting more and more out of poor Don Wilhelm, who as my ACE staff member that's providing stuff that they want to see more and more. But they have made a recommendation to you. Their first thought process is that we couldn't really go in and start fixing streets if we have bad drainage problems. If we have curb and gutter and valley pans that don't drain, because if you're not draining properly, you spend money on asphalt, you're just going to waste it, because you're still going to have the water seeping under the pavement and ruining that pavement structure. And then, I asked them all to show up tonight, and that's how independent of thinkers they are. They ignored me. Because I really feel like I'm trying to tell you what they're thinking a lot of times. But part of their thought process is that if we just leave the concrete repairs for each particular street project, where it's just an incidental subcontract for each one, that we wouldn't get very good prices on the concrete repair work. So they wanted to put together a big concrete project. And as you recall, they came back and recommended to you that we hire Enberg Miller Engineers to put together a big concrete project for them, which they did. And that was quite an eye-opener, because after we identified all the streets that we felt that had concrete repair issues, and Enberg Miller went out and identified them all and put together the numbers, it was about $3.3 million worth of concrete repairs. And the eyes of the committee got as big and wide around as mine did about, wow, that's more than a year's worth of 1 cent sales tax proceeds right out of the bat on concrete. I'm not sure that's what they really wanted to do, and that wasn't what they wanted to do. So they asked Enberg Miller, Kyle Twyford, who's the project manager for Enberg Miller, to go back and break it out into some bid schedules, and not trying to slight one group or anything else, but we just had to have some kind of logical way to break it out into bid schedules. They asked Cal to break it out into bid schedules. Bid schedule 1 would be streets that had more than 3,000 cars a day. Bid schedule 2 would be streets that had 1,000 to 3,000 cars a day. Bid schedule 3 would be up to 1,000 cars a day, and then bid schedule 4 would be after that. So he broke that out at that, and when they brought that back and looked at that, it was the recommendation of the Force Committee that we move forward with bid schedule 1 and 2. And not with the whole thing, because it was just too much, but that by doing those 1 and 2s, those are the most heavily trafficked streets, that there'd be a lot of progress, that then we would have streets in shape for being able to overlay them or chip seal them and everything right after that. So their recommendation to you is that we advertise this project for bid schedule number 1 and number 2 and get that out on the street so we can get it going while we still have this beautiful 98-degree weather to pour concrete in. But then they weren't done there. They also made a recommendation to you as a committee that we try to help figure out a way to finance for property owners that have to replace their sidewalks associated with our project, that we figure out a way to help them with financing that, so that if we're fixing the curb and gutter of a section that the sidewalk was poured monolithic with the curb and gutter and it's got to be replaced at the same time, that if that property owner says, I can't afford this, I need some help with financing, so we'll figure out a way to do that. You know, Courtney's my hero today, and when we start talking about that, I know that just creates a whole lot of bunch of work for Courtney, that if we try to finance with city funds for private residents. And in visiting with Courtney, we really think that we could probably try to help with the financing, and we're going to work closely with Courtney on this, by working with our local lending institutions. That if somebody really needs a little help of financing their sidewalk replacement for a short period of time, maybe Wells Fargo, First Interstate Bank, Central Bank and Trust would step up and help with that interim bridge gap financing, and then they can be a bank, which we're not, and they can do their banker's job, and Courtney wouldn't have to do that. And so we're working on that. But that was the committee's recommendation, is we try to help them with that financing. And we'll try to come up with an option, but the city's not a bank, and Courtney's pretty adamant about it. She doesn't think we ought to be in the financing business. I don't want to put words in your mouth. Is that a safe way to say that?
Yes.
Okay. So we're working on that. Then the second recommendation from this committee, because they just pop these things out as fast as I can even write them down, is they recommend to you that we also, right on the heels of this concrete project, that we put out to bid a major patching project. Now, what we've done there with our own staff is we've gone out with our intern and identified sections of streets that really need major patch. And when we say major patch, where there's a failed section of the street that's larger than 10 by 10, where it's really all alligatored or it's really, really in bad shape or there's huge potholes, that we put that out to bid. And so we've got that pretty close, but the committee's recommendation is that we go ahead and advertise that for bid 2 and get that out on the street so we can start patching some of these really bad sections of streets and make some progress and show people that we're not only wisely using that 1 cent money, as we promised on the roads, but that we're making some progress and we're getting some things done. And I'll tell you that that was their next recommendation, and then they followed that right up with their third recommendation, actually fourth now, that they also would like us to put out to bid as quickly as possible an overlay project, for lack of a better term, what we call the tree streets. And for those of you that are not familiar with the tree streets, that's the Woodridge subdivision. And you recall when we had the first meeting about the 1 cent, when we were just talking about it, fir, maple, all of those over there, the bitumen in the pavement is evaporated. There's aggregate exposed. But for the most part, once we get done with the concrete and with the major patching, they're in pretty good shape, good enough shape to just overlay. And so the committee recommends that we get that out to bid right away too. That we start advertising these projects and getting them going. We're keeping a keen eye on what the revenues from the 1 cent are and what we're committing here. The concrete is about $900,000. I believe that we thought that the major patching project was going to be about $400,000. We won't know till we get the bids in. That's 1.3, and we expect 1.7 to $2 million a year, and that's what they wanted to do this overlay project. Well, we still had some money left. They wanted to see those tree streets overlaid, but we still had some money, some resources left in the 1 cent fund. So that was their recommendations to you as the council. They take their responsibilities very seriously, and they understand they're advising you as the mayor and council, but that's their recommendation to you. So we put bid schedule 1 and 2 of the concrete out, we put the major patching project out to bid, and then we put an overlay project for the tree streets out to bid.
Thank you, Bill. Chair would entertain a motion regarding the 1% Force Committee recommendations.
Your Honor, I'd move to approve the recommendations as presented by the Force Committee.
Second.
Yes, Councilman Gardner.
So the plans that you sent us out with schedule 1, 2, and 3 colored, we're going to try to do all 3 of those?
Just 1 and 2.
Just 1 and 2 this year.
This year on the concrete.
And so when I'm looking at them, the dark, it's black on my screen, section schedule 1. Are we down off of Smith Street in the Freedom Drive area, putting pavement in?
Councilman Guard, I think if you can refer to this cover sheet where they have a tabular listing of them.
Okay.
Bid schedule 1 is Sunset, North 8th West, Broadway, Monroe, and Hill Street. Bid schedule 2, Broadway, Park, Pershing, North 11th West, North 12th East, Big Bend, West Park, Village Drive, and North First. So those are the first 2 bid schedules of streets that we would really hit.
Okay.
To get those streets in shape for eventual overlay or chip seal or something. We're also trying to get a demonstration in, and I'll make sure and let all you know about it, that if we get it, that we're trying to get a demonstration on the difference between chip seals, bog seals, and micro seals. So as we're selecting these treatments, we can see what the finished product looks like and try to get some demonstrations of what they are, or at least maybe a slideshow, at least, to show you what the different treatments are so that we'll all become more knowledgeable about what the different asphalt maintenance techniques are.
Hill Street was not going to be re-overlaid overlaid with Riverview?
You know, that's up the hill a little bit on Hill Street. It is not part of the Riverview project. We'll make sure that that's separate. We may have overreached a little bit and have a little overlap on that. We will not overlap that. Certainly a part of Riverview is getting, or Hill Street is getting reconstructed as part of the Riverview project. Part way up the hill.
Your Honor.
Yes, Councilman Fabian.
Bill, is there any cost estimate on the overlay part, the final part?
Mr. Mayor, Councilman Fabian, I'll probably have one when we advertise for bid, but obviously when we get the bids in, we come back and ask you for an award of the bid, you'll know exactly what it's going to cost. I'm getting a little gun shy by the estimates because you guys seem to hold me to those. I'd rather wait until the bids are in and tell you what it's going to cost. I think we thought on the overlay that we could probably overlay that. I don't have the quantities yet. We were thinking we could probably do it in the neighborhood of $10 per square foot. And so I've got to go take a wheel and walk down those streets and I'll see how long they are and how wide they are, and then I'll be able to tell you better. But we'll have that shortly when we get that ready to advertise that for bid. When the bids come in, you'll know exactly what it's going to cost.
Thank you.
Your Honor.
Councilman Heiser.
Just a clerical question. Do we have our signage ready to go so that when these projects get started, we have signage there that day? It would be very nice to start showing the citizens that that's what that money is coming from, and it'd be a shame to not have them there.
Councilman Heiser, we have some signs that were not paid for with 1 cent money.
Good.
And they're stashed down at the Public Works offices, but we will have signs on every project. They're not big, they're not flashy, we're not wasting money on signs. They're very, and we're not, I was a little offended by one letter or the other. We're not paying anybody $850 telling us how to pound a post into the ground to put up the sign. That's not gonna happen. Probably what we're gonna do is require the contractor to just put them on the traffic control devices so that people pull up and they've got a road closed or detour or whatever. There'll be a sign right there that says penny power. And we will have them, but they're very modest. And
aren't they yellow?
They're yellow.
They'll stick out.
They'll stick out.
Yellow or green?
Yeah, it's a yellowish green.
Yeah, I was thinking it was that phosphorescent green almost. Yeah. Yeah, they will stand out. All right, is there further discussion on the, okay. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign, motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, we now have agenda item 16 that was added in. Riverview Road information. I think you had something else, Mr. Burkay?
Mr. Mayor, I'm fairly certain by this point in time of this meeting, you guys have heard enough from me. We have
Keep
been
it brief,
asked by
then.
YDOT to concur with the award of bid on the Riverview Road project. YDOT had the bid letting and open bids just last week on Riverview Road, and the engineer's estimate, and I handed this out to all of you. I hope you all have all this in front of you. The engineer's estimate was, only I handed them all out and I don't have a copy.
2.9.
2.9, and the apparent low bidder was Jerry Bornhoff Construction.
2.8.
We got some information very late from YDOT asking for us to concur with the bid award. Unfortunately, their pro forma didn't agree with the way I remembered things, but I've been on the phones and I think we've got it all figured out now. But so I would ask you, obviously we're very anxious to get this project moving forward too. This has been a long, hard battle to get this far on this project, and it's the #1 priority of the Urban Systems Committee. I don't know of a project that is needed worse, or the pavement's literally just falling apart.
Yes.
There have been people who've died in this stretch of road. I mean, it really needs fixed. So the total project cost after the contractor's costs and YDOT's associated maintenance or management costs and engineering costs is $3.3 million. YDOT, and we had entered into agreement with YDOT a long time ago. It said that they had available of Urban Systems money $1,957,572 to go towards this project, which leaves a balance of $1.3 million Fremont County has committed, and I want to personally thank the county commissioners and Dave Pendleton, who's their transportation superintendent, and their 1 cent committee, who committed $500,000 of their 1 cent money to go towards this project. And we also have secured, and Mr. Mayor, you were instrumental in this too, a mineral royalty grant from the state for $500,000 for that, which leaves us about $347,000. We could actually borrow forward on our urban systems money from YDOT. We can ask them to give us 2 years of that money that's set aside, about $200,000 a year extra. So we come up with $400,000. The water and sewer elements of this project, which are pretty critical, at least from my standpoint, after I just chastised Source Gas about cutting new streets. The water main that runs out Riverview is a 14-inch ductile iron pipe that has failed repeatedly on us. We need to replace it. We've got sewer work that also needs to be done because we want to put new and adequate sewers and water lines underneath this new street. So that comes up for a total of $804,000. We had budgeted $240,000 in the water fund and $155,000 in the sewer fund. So all in all, the balance needed by the city after all of that discussion of all the revenue streams where we can have to go is $356,832. Courtney Bollinger is my hero. I'm here to say that publicly because when I asked her about this morning, because I was about to die when I thought we were $1.3 million short on this, we actually, because of her wise stewardship, have set money aside for projects like this for a number of years. And so we have money in the bank to make up the difference of that $356,000 that we need. And so I'm asking you to concur with YDOT with the award of the bid to the low bidder, to Jerry Bornhoff Construction Incorporated.
Thank you, Bill. The chair would entertain a motion regarding the Riverview rebuild project as presented by Mr. Eberkite.
Your Honor, I move that we concur with YDOT on awarding the bid to Jerry Bornhoff Construction in the amount of $2,800,298 for the Riverview reconstruction project.
Thank you.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Is there discussion on this project? Any questions, concerns?
Your Honor,
Yes, Councilman Gard.
I just think it would be really wise to make sure that state really is in a 1.9.
Mayor and Councilman Gard, thank you for bringing that up. I will make sure that I put in the letter that we concur. Maybe I'll even ask the mayor to sign it, that we concur as long as they come up with the money they promised us at the start.
I think that would be an excellent way to keep you out of the slammer with us.
Tell you what, it was not a good day for me. Well, I was bouncing off the walls trying to figure out where we were going to come up with another $1 million. It's not make my day.
Yeah. I just think that should be addressed with the state.
Yeah, no, I'll make sure and put that in there, what we send them.
It's a good suggestion. I concur with that 100%. Okay, we've got a motion and a second on this particular motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Courtney.
Reports and comments. Council committee reports. Council members roundtable. Councilman Smith.
Your Honor, yesterday we did have our quarterly board meeting for the Senior Citizen Center Endowment Board. Short meeting, but we went over the financial statements and approved those for the quarter, and that's about it.
Okay. Councilman Fabian.
The animal shelter has been meeting consistently, getting ready for their fundraiser. They call it the Redneck Barbecue. It's in conjunction with the car and bike show on Saturday during the rendezvous, and there's actually a work night tomorrow evening. It'll be held at Ace Hardware. If anybody would like to show up and help with the preparations, it'll be at 5:15 tomorrow evening. And just looking forward to a good event on Saturday. I believe the barbecue runs from 11 to 3 or 4, something like that. I guess I have a schedule here that should tell me if I looked at it. Let's see, Redneck Bar 11 to 4. So that is all I have. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councilman Guard.
Your Honor, I don't have any reports. I just like to thank the city staff for the good job they're doing on the parks and supporting the recreation that's happening in Riverton, and we're proud of the work that they're doing. So they're out there working hard, and I would like to recognize it from my position. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Heiser.
Yes, Your Honor, a couple of things this evening. First, some what I would say is long overdue kudos, but great national kudos nonetheless to Chief Broadhead and the Riverton Police Department. They were named at the National Association of School Resource Officers Conference going on now in Orlando as the Model Agency of the Year.
Wow.
Which is a huge award, especially for a department of this size, but I think it goes towards and probably most importantly, the fact that our police department and our SROs are really should be touted as a model agency for the rest of the state and the rest of the nation for communities this size. We're often talked about as the agency that everyone else tends to look towards when they're implementing SROs, and I know when school districts around the state have those discussions, Riverton is always brought up as the program that kind of has all their ducks in the row. So I really want to recognize Riverton Police Department's our SROs, Cody Myers. Cody really is the driver. He's been on the national board for some time now. He's been the president of Wyoming School Resource Officers for quite a while, and really just has a passion for being in the schools and makes a difference. He just makes a difference. And the other SROs, these guys, again, these are the ones that are on the ground with the kids and given the buy-in that the police department has with the kids, so that when something happens, they're reporting it. We have Sergeant Todd Baxter. He's an interim sergeant. He's from the school resource officers area. Sergeant Charlie Marshall, also an SRO up the high school. And one of our newer officers, not newer in the sense that he's been on the force for a while, but newer to the SRO beat, is Sergio Cabada. And these officers and all of our past SROs deserve a round of applause for what they've done for our community. And like I said, it's long overdue. I think they have earned this recognition many times over, but it's great to see them recognized, especially on a national front. So I wanted to make sure that I pointed those guys out by name this evening, and Chief wanted to congratulate you and your department as well. So
thank you.
I want to thank the Force Committee for their work. I think we saw just how hard they worked tonight by the reports that they put through to us, and trust that they're doing the work of the community, so I want to thank them as well. And I too am looking forward to the weekend's events. We had some trainers in last week from really all over the country, and it always surprises me just how much, at least for me, I take for granted where I live. They're always asking, hey, where can we go, or what can we go see? And you never run out of things to show them, and they were just in awe of the area. They went over to Sinks Canyon one day. They toured the reservation another day, and these are guys from Louisiana and Oregon, all over the country, and they're just, I think if they could have stayed, they would have. So it gives you a lot to appreciate, and this is one of the best times of year to be in Riverton, so I'm looking forward to that. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Christensen.
Your Honor, no committee reports to speak about this evening, but I had a sad note. Is our Paint What Matters campaign did not make the top 20 in the western United States. The closest was Greeley, but I appreciate everybody voting, and we gave it a good shot. So that was
You stuffed the ballot box as much as you could, huh?
Yes, I did. I had a lot of family back in New York doing that also. So maybe next time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilman Baker.
Your Honor, are you ready for a mosquito report?
Let's do it.
Okay, I've got a quickie here for about a minute.
Uh-oh.
We brought one.
I brought a visual aid. And I showed, we trap mosquitoes on Tuesday nights. So I wanted everybody to know what a mosquito trap is and how this thing works. We put dry ice in the cooler here, and the dry ice turns into carbon dioxide. Mosquitoes that are looking for a blood meal are attracted to the carbon dioxide. And so the carbon dioxide flows out here, kind of comes around this disc. Down here is a fan that is sucking air in and blows it down into this sock. And so the mosquitoes get sucked in and trapped here. And then there's a little flapper door here that when the fan turns off, the battery runs down, the mosquitoes can't get back out. And so we've trapped all these adult mosquitoes down here in the sock. And we've got a little string here. We tie this off and we take it in. We put them in the freezer. After 30 minutes, the mosquitoes are dead, and we can dump them out on a piece of paper and count them. And we can sort them by species and decide how many mosquitoes we have in the various locations. So in town where we trap, where there's a mosquito fogging project going on, we get between 5 and 10 mosquitoes in this trap overnight. If you go out on Smith Street, where we do not have a fogging program, we get hundreds and sometimes we get as many as thousands of mosquitoes in this trap overnight. And so the fogging project inside the core of the city of Riverton is really pretty effective, probably 99% effective for adult mosquito control. And so we can say, gee, we did a great job. Where it all falls apart is out on the edge of the community against the agricultural land where there's flood irrigation and the roads are much further apart. And so for the fogging to work effectively, that fogging truck has to drive on about 300-foot swaths. So in the heart of the city, every street gives you 300 feet, and that works great. And so this is what this trap looks like. We set it out. What's interesting to me is we got a report this week from the CDC, Center for Disease Control, the U.S. government, on mosquito and West Nile virus, and they rate Fremont County, Wyoming, among the highest per capita for West Nile virus infection in the United States of America. And so there's a real black area that really starts at Fremont County and goes north up through the Bighorn Basin, up through Montana and in North and South Dakota, where West Nile virus is really a problem, and they consider this to be a significant health issue. What's interesting about this trap is we count these bugs and then we test them for West Nile virus, and we hardly ever find West Nile virus, but we still have human cases, and so I question that. I wonder why that's, why we can't find it easier. And the reason is that most of the mosquitoes that we trap have hatched within a day or two, and they've never had a blood meal. So they've never had an opportunity to get infected with the West Nile virus. And so the only guys that do are the ones that have had a blood meal off of a bird and then digested it. And it takes about 21 days for that West Nile virus to incubate in the mosquito, and so that the mosquito could actually bite somebody and transmit that disease. When the weather warms up, that drops down to about 5 days. So between the time that the mosquito gets a blood meal, gets infected, the West Nile virus amplifies to the point where it could be passed on and then goes to a human being. Well, as the weather warms up, I don't know about you guys, but I slept on top of the blankets last night. Okay? And so what that tells me is that when it only gets down to about 70 degrees at night, what we have is the opportunity there for West Nile virus to amplify in that mosquito population in about a week. And so the opportunity for us to contract West Nile virus is really enhanced from the middle of July through the middle of August, and we have to be vigilant. And by that, what I mean is even in spite of the fact that we're getting pretty good mosquito control, it's almost like it's a trap, because we can go out, we can go to Day in the Park, we can go to the car rally, we can do all the fun things there are to do this time of year in Riverton in the evening. Okay? And the mosquitoes that are out there are all hot. And so if we're not using some kind of mosquito repellent to protect ourselves and keep the mosquitoes chased away, we're inviting an infection from that disease. So, when you think about West Nile virus, in spite of everything that the city does to try to knock down the adult mosquito population and keep that under control, we still need to protect ourselves when we're out and about in the evening. I mean, it's warm, people going to wear shorts, tank tops, flip-flops, that kind of stuff. There's a lot of skin hanging out and a lot of opportunity there, and we're not paying attention to what's going on around us. Mosquitoes, these Culex mosquitoes are sneaky biters, and they'll slip up on you on the dark side, so to speak, when you're not paying attention, and you'll get bit.
What do you recommend for the citizens on the edge of town?
The citizens on the edge of town are they're just simply going to have a lot more mosquitoes than what we have in town, and so personal protection is really the key to survival here. So,
is there anything that they can spray their lawn with, or?
Yes, well, there's a product called permethrin that you could.
What again?
Permethrin. Okay, permethrin not only is a good insecticide that kills mosquitoes, but it's a terrific insect repellent. So it gives mosquitoes the hot foot or the hot wing or whatever you want to say. At any rate, they just don't want to hang around where you've sprayed it. And so that lasts for about a week to 10 days after you've made an application. Now, when you water your lawn and sprinkle, it washes all that off the grass, and then the mosquitoes will move back in. But if you spray all the shrubs and the flowers and the side of your home and that, outdoor stuff, the backyard, the places where you're going to go out and play, and then you can hold off on watering for a few days. If you were going to have a backyard barbecue, you could go out there and treat with permethrin the day before. It would be very few mosquitoes. It just chases them right off. Does a nice job. And this comes, you can buy it in concentrated material and mix it up in a sprayer, but you can also buy it pre-mixed in a hose proportioner that screws right on the end of the garden hose. So you don't have to mix it or anything. You just put it on the end of your garden hose, flip a little lever, go spray, and it really does work well. I've used it myself for 10 years. I find it very effective. Living in town now, I don't use it, but I'm fortunate I'm in the middle of the community.
Well, that's what I'm interested in, is the people that live on the edges of town. I've received some information from citizens that, are complaining.
It's really difficult. And the thing that's interesting this year is the mosquito numbers are actually very low in comparison to what we had, say, 2 years ago when we had all the flooding on the river bottoms. Mosquito numbers this year are really very low. But Culex, the ones that carry West Nile virus, is over 50% of the mosquitoes that we trap.
Wow.
Okay. Whereas if you go back 2 years ago when we were getting lots more mosquitoes, had a lot more mosquitoes, only 1 or 2% of those mosquitoes. Mm-hmm. So we have the same number of Culex coming at us year after year after year. Same magnitude of Culex. What differs is the other species that get pulled into the mix. And so this year, where we're short on irrigation water and people are being conservative about the way they irrigate, we simply don't have a lot of water standing at the end of the field that produces all these floodplain mosquitoes. The river's down. We don't have a lot of mosquitoes being produced in those areas. And so, the mosquito program for Riverton looks really good. I mean, we've got one trap that I put out that for 3 weeks, we got no mosquitoes in the trap, none. And then last week, we just had a couple.
Is this trap your design?
Oh, no. This is invented by very intelligent entomologists with, and it's a design that's actually, I don't know if patented is exactly the right term, but it's named the CDC Mini Light Trap. It's a style that has been used by entomologists in the mosquito control business for decades, many years.
Okay. Anything else?
There's a Volunteers of America board meeting the 30th.
Okay. And that's going all right? Transition from the crisis center?
Well, I think so.
Yeah,
I think so. This will be the first actual advisory committee meeting with, with local stakeholders involved. So we'll get a good update.
Okay, thank you.
Your Honor,
Yes, Councilman.
it appears I misspoke earlier. The Redneck Barbecue is actually from 10 to 4, not 11 to 4. Sorry about that.
10-4. Okay, City Administrator's report, please.
Oh, boy. I'd like to thank the citizens that stopped off at our booth and Day in the Park. We had an enjoyable time talking with a lot of different individuals and able to share with them a lot of different projects that are going on in the city. And so I'd like to thank everybody for doing that. This really is a great event. This was the first year I was able to go see Rails to Trails and some of the musicians out there on the, boy, that was really nice, and the temperature was perfect. The other thing is, you'll notice on your chairs there, the budget books. Those are the final adopted budget there, and with a nice cover on the front that was made by Kristen. So enjoy those. Happy reading.
Okay. Thank you. I share your comments regarding the Day in the Park. Bill was down there in the morning and helped me set up and put my little shade tent together, which was quite a challenge in and of itself. I thought I didn't have the directions on how to put it together, but I found them. Otherwise, we'd probably still be trying to figure out how to put the dang thing together. Some kind of a Chinese puzzle, it seemed like, but it was a lot of fun, and we did get to talk to a lot of people. There was a lot of people down there that day. One of the high points was when I turned around and Liz Cheney was there, and I'd seen her on the news quite often, and I'd been to some rallies and whatnot where she was at, but she spent probably 15 to 20 minutes visiting about the Job Corps and you know, just what was happening in the community, and she's just a delightful young lady. So I spent a couple hours the other morning up at the college, Central Wyoming College. They were having the Joint Education Committee up there, and you think we got problems. They have serious problems in education and issues on the reservation and whatnot. So it was very interesting. I was able to hear Jim Rose give the initial opening presentation for a little over an hour, and then they were going to go into a lot more minutia than I was interested in, so I checked out. But at any rate, it's been a good week, and looking forward to everything with the balloons and car show, and it's going to be a fun week. So encourage everybody to come out and make it happen. It's my understanding that we're having an executive session this evening. The chair would entertain a motion to convene into executive session for the purpose of real estate, consideration of site selection or purchase of real estate in accordance with Wyoming Statute 16-4-405 AVII.
Your Honor, I'd move to convene into executive session for the purpose of real estate.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Is there discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay.